The modern battlefield is as digital as it is physical, and federal agencies face the unprecedented challenge of sharing mission critical intelligence across organizational and national boundaries while also maintaining absolute control over classified data. It's in this environment that traditional perimeter security is no longer sufficient. I'm Wyatt Kash with Scoop News Group, and here to discuss how data-centric security transforms this paradigm, ensuring protection travels with the information itself and allowing agencies to shift from a rigid need-to-know posture to a more balanced need-to-share model, is Shannon Vaughn, General Manager of Virtru Federal. Shannon, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I think one of the questions that I'd like to start with is, we've heard about zero trust mandates coming for advanced zero trust in fiscal year 2027, but we're less than 500 days away from that deadline. What foundational capabilities are agencies and militaries, really using to achieve this as we go forward?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think we all agree that the federal mandates on zero trust are one, a paradigm shift, but absolutely critical, right? I think we've realized through different nation state actors and kind of hacking attacks that we really need to be able to move security down to the data object level, and we need to put in place a lot of flexible yet strong security. And zero trust is doing that effectively, or doing quite effective. What I will say is, there's, whether you look at some of the different models, there's 5 pillars to zero trust. Some have 7, some actually have 8. What we've seen is the identity pillar is quite important. I think we're doing quite well at the endpoints and the application, the network layers, but across all agencies that we've talked to, you're really starting to see that data pillar is the hardest to get after. And so that's where we've really started to come in and help a lot of agencies and militaries to get after that data pillar, because while we're under 500 days before we have to meet that national mandate through the executive orders, what we're seeing is far too many agencies and militaries are behind the curve in really answering that data pillar.
Well, and I have to imagine with the continuing growth and volume of data, it's also equally challenging just to keep up with it all.
I think that's exactly right. One of the things that we've been able to do with a lot of of our customers and partners is allowing them to be more proactive and flexible in their ability to share information. So traditionally, cybersecurity has always been a defensive posture, right? You really don't want to share because somebody has to have need to know. Once data has actually left your boundary, you don't have positive control over that thing. What NSA actually created was a thing called the trusted data format. And trusted data format is maintained by the Director of National Intelligence. If you go to odni.gov, you'll find trusted data format. It just so happens that our founder wrote that when he was at NSA as a government civilian, and then spun it out and created a whole company around it. What TDF does is it applies protections onto the individual data objects themselves. And so think of it kind of more like how network security is at that network layer. Each individual object comes with its own security boundary. And it has both tags through attribute-based access control, as well as encryption. And so what that allows people to do with their data is proactively share it because they know that they have positive control over it. It can be dynamic. You can change access patterns after the fact, after it's left your boundary. And you can also have auditability and traceability on who's accessing that data and in what types of ways are they accessing that data. So it allows our customer base to go on the offense and share data, which is not traditionally a cybersecurity posture.
Really, really interesting. Well, can you share some examples of mission partners that are practicing this sort of data-centric security model that you're describing?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing, at least in my 5 years at Virtru, is actually what's happening right now. And what I love is it's actually not led by the United States. So there's something that the UK is leading right now called Operation High Mast. It's probably the best example of data-centric security at scale. And so what they're doing is there's a carrier strike group underway, transiting across multiple U.S. combatant commands, AORs. Currently, they're sitting in the Sea of Japan, and they've moved through Middle East, They moved down to Australia. Now they're up into Japan and into South Korea. And what's impressive is they're starting to get countries that are coming and joining up on this carrier strike group. Just last week we saw 4 different carriers, 2 from the U.S., 1 from the U.K., 1 from Japan, sailing underway at the same time. Well, traditionally, how would we ever share information? We would have to stand up a new network and then read people in, put data into that network, and U.S. CENTCOM a few years ago said every time we stand up a new network costs us about $3 million in a few months. Well, when you provide or push all the security down onto the individual data objects, you can actually have a single gold copy, allow everybody to federate into a single environment and be able to dynamically provision and provide access control on that data. And so I think what the Brits are leading with Operation High Mast is just incredible. We've seen the U.S. join up. We've seen partner nations like Spain join up or Japan join up, Australia join up, and they're all bringing all of their own data, all of their own identity to the picture, and their different network-centric or data-centric security models, and we're able to share information at scale. I've never seen this before. The exercise, Operation High Mast, actually concludes later this year, and I think the readouts from that are going to get after the U.S. and our Five Eyes partners and other partners like Japan and South Korea that are going to actually move into production and meet that FY27 deadline.
Well, I know it sounds like a cliche, but that really does sound game-changing.
It really is. It really is.
Next, can you talk a little about, so why is the trusted data format open standard gaining popularity, not only in the U.S., but internationally, as you were describing?
Yeah, so I mentioned TDF. Probably the biggest change that we've seen over the last 2 years or so is we've actually worked to update the TDF spec to create a new spec actually called the Zero Trust Data Format. And so it's all the goodness of TDF, but what we've done is we worked with our Five Eyes partners to develop a ZTDF spec. And so the ZTDF spec, what it does is it applies the NATO standards 4774, 4778, and 5636, which are metadata tagging, crypto binding, and confidentiality. And it applies those security requirements that our Five Eyes partners and our NATO partners said, if we had this, we could actually use the TDF spec. So we've expanded what TDF can do and moved it just out of a USIC kind of specification into a NATO standard. And so effectively what it means is as long as you align to the NATO standard or the US standard, we can make you interoperable on your data. It truly is the fastest I've ever seen nations pick up a new capability because they said, hey, this was the missing link to being able to do dynamic data-centric security.
And then next, what unique data security challenges exist for enterprise operational and also tactical tiers?
Yeah. So this was a really hard one to kind of crack because all military doctrine across all the service elements, whether it's U.S. service elements or partner service elements, effectively say like all future fights are joint fights, and that's not just as an Army guy saying, hey, it's myself and the Marines going to fight tonight. It's us and the Brits and the French and whoever it is, right? We are going to be a joint fight whenever we move towards large-scale combat operations. And so when you do that, what you have to be able to provide is the ability for countries or militaries to dynamically be able to join up and fight. And so what that means is we can't do what we used to do. It is a paradigm shift where previously what we would do is say, all right, we will provide you a new identity. We will provide you a new network that you have to log into. We'll provide you a new capability. Well, that is not how Fight Tonight works, right? And so what we've been able to do is, not just allowing people to bring their own identity, realizing that not everybody has the same PKI infrastructure. What we've been able to do is, hey, you can bring your own identity. We can understand your need to know. We can federate on some areas of your identity profile, and then be able to dynamically provide access control onto data. And so by doing that, each nation or group can have their own CAS or key access server, be able to provide their security, know that they've wrapped their data in the way that they want it, and then be able to proactively share that data into an ally's environment, for instance. It's just a completely different way of doing it, and that whether that's at that enterprise, national level, that operational tier, kind of at a combatant command structure, or down to a tactical team that can go into a DDoS environment and go completely offline and still operate in a data-centric manner. It's just a new way of fighting.
That's tremendous. And then lastly, as we start to wrap up, what's next for agencies and services to meet the zero trust mandate, but also how is Virtru enabling them to achieve these goals faster, particularly as we enter this era of AI and the information flow is just accelerating everything?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would foot stomp to or when I talk to agency leaders is, one, you have to meet your mandate, right? Every CIO and CDO in every agency has a requirement that they have to report to Congress on what their agency is doing to meet this ZT mandate. We're less than 500 days away. So what we're trying to tell people is, hey, we understand that you probably have the identity piece figured out. You definitely have the network piece figured out. You probably have your endpoints figured out, your application layers, but a lot of people are still sleeping on the data side. And what we found is, across our customers, whether it's in the US federal government or foreign governments, Virtru and ZTDF are really starting to become almost an easy button where they can say, hey, I can meet my ZT mandate on that data pillar quite easily. And so, as that march to 500 days, as General Stanton at DISA said, we've got to get after this problem, and the agencies that are left behind are going to catch it. And so we're really just trying to give agencies a fast way to meet that mandate on the hardest pillar of ZT.
Absolutely. Well, Shannon Vaughn, thank you so much for sharing both your insights on how data can be better protected in transit, but also internationally, and how that also kind of helps agencies and the defense sector in general meet some of these zero trust mandates coming up pretty fast, as you mentioned. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.